Hi you guys, I put together this review video to help you with some of the mistakes that are the most common mistakes for students in our class. And so I need you to follow along and make sure that you are paying attention to and writing down exactly what I tell you to so that you don't make these mistakes when you retake your quiz. Okay, so question number one. When we look at this question, the very first thing that I want you to recognize is that the thing that is right next to the parenthesis is a subtraction sign. And so if you ever have a situation where you have a subtraction sign that's right next to a parenthesis, that subtraction sign has to be distributed to both of the terms inside the parenthesis. So basically that subtraction sign is going to change that V to a negative V and that negative 2 to a positive 2. So it makes both of the terms inside the parenthesis, it changes them to their opposite sign, okay? And then we still have a 10 that's part of this expression, and so after we've distributed the negative, we now combine our like terms, and you can see that we have a positive 10 and we have a positive 2, so that is going to be a positive 12. And then we also have a negative V. That is the same thing as negative 1V, okay? So negative 1V plus 12, or you could do 12 plus negative 1V, or you could do a 12 minus V. All of these are equivalent expressions. They're just different ways of writing the math for the same expression. Okay, question number 4. The reason that I put this one out is because on this question, the negative 5 is right next to the parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis, we have a positive 1n, but we also have a negative 8. You have to remember the sign that's attached to the number. So if there's a subtraction sign in front of a number, that number is really negative. So when we distribute here, we're going to have a negative 5n and a positive 40, and then we also have that negative 10n. So when we're combining our like terms, we're going to combine a negative 10 and a negative 5, and that is going to be a negative 15n and then a positive 40, okay? Okay, the next one, we have the same kind of situation, except for what I want you to realize here is that the number that is right next to this parenthesis is this negative 3, okay? That subtraction sign that's in front of the 3 makes that 3 negative. So when you distribute first, this is going to be negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 6 is a negative 18. And then we still have our negative 9. So when we combine our like terms, we're combining a negative 9 with a negative 18. And if you start out a negative 9 on the number line and you combine that with a negative 18, you're going to end up at a negative 27, okay? So a negative 3x and a negative 27. Okay, and then the next one, number 11, is just like number 6. So we're going to go ahead and skip that one. And then we're going to move to solving a two-step equation that first needs to simplify. So whenever you're solving a two-step equation, the first thing you want to do is you want to draw a line through the equals so that you know which side is your right side and which side is your left side. And then when I say simplify first, what that means is if you need to distribute, you always do that first. Okay, so you're going to distribute. And then after you distribute, if there are any like terms to combine, you do that very next. Okay, you combine your like terms, and you do both of those things, distribute and combine like terms, before you solve. Okay, so on question number 17, the 7 is right next to the parenthesis, so I'm going to distribute that to both the 8x and the 6, which is 56 times by x plus 42 equals a negative 238. Okay, now there are no like terms to combine, which means that we're going to move to this solve step. Okay, and whenever you solve an equation, your whole goal is to isolate your variable. You want to go back to that variable being totally by itself, right? And in this case, you can see that the x has been multiplied by 56, and then 42 was added to that. So when we're isolating the variable, we always get rid of the addition or subtraction part first by finding a zero pair. So if we have a positive 42, we're going to combine that with a negative 42 or a subtract 42, and that totally cancels out, which is what we want to have happen. We want to cancel out that positive 42. So we subtract 2 from both sides. Now we have 56 times x equals a negative 280. And then our next step is to get rid of the multiplication of 56. To do that, we're going to use division. We have to divide by 56 on both sides. So x equals negative 280 divided by 56. And that gives us a negative 5. Okay. Okay, so let's do another one, number 22. In this case, what you need to recognize is you got to pay attention to your signs. This is a negative 6. This is a positive 5x. This is a negative 8. So when you solve this equation, first thing you want to do is distribute. A negative 6 times 5x is negative 30x. And a negative 6 times a negative 8 is a positive 48. And then we have equal to negative 102. Okay, now we move to the solve step. We want to isolate our variable. So find your variable term. That's the one that has the variable, right? The negative 30 times x, that's our variable term. We want to get that by itself by getting rid of the 48. So to get rid of the 48, we're going to do a negative 48, which we have to do on both sides. So negative 30 times by x equals negative 150. And then from there, to get rid of that multiplication of negative 30, we're going to divide by a negative 30. And notice how I divide by a negative 30, right? This is a negative 30 times x, so I divide by a negative 30 because I want this to be a positive 1x. Okay, so x equals negative 150 divided by negative 30, which is 5. Okay, so x equals 5. Okay, now I'm going to do 2 more with you, and then I'm going to have you do some for me, and I'll have you bring those back, check them off with me, and then I'm going to have you move to doing your test or your retake of your quiz. Okay, so here is number 23. Remember, you're following along. You are writing down every step that I write down. Every step of the solving process is important for you to write down. Okay, so here we go. First thing we do is we check to see if there's anything that we need to distribute, which there is. Do you guys see this negative 5 right next to the parenthesis? We've got to distribute that to both terms inside the parenthesis. So that gives us a positive 40a. Negative 5 times positive 6 is a negative 30. This is a positive 40a, and on this left side, I still have a 4a. So I am not done yet with simplifying the left side. I still need to combine my like terms, right? We've got to simplify first before we do anything with solving. So 4a and a 40a, I'm going to combine those. I'm going to simplify this. So it's 44 times a minus 30 equals negative 162. Now I can move to my solve step. Okay, so every single time you solve an equation, you always simplify and then you solve. So let me go ahead and circle the variable term. We have 44 times by a. The a has been multiplied by 44, and then 30 was subtracted from it. So the first thing we get rid of is the subtract 30. We're going to add 30 to both sides. So we have 44 times by a equals negative 132. Last step is to divide by 44, and a negative 132 divided by 44 is a negative 3. So a equals negative 3. Okay, let's just do one more. Let's do one of the hardest ones, and then I think you'll be ready to take your quiz. Let's go ahead and do number 46. Okay, and let me back up. I'm not going to do 38, but I want you to recognize this minus sign here. So when you distribute on 38, you've got to distribute the negative 6 to both of these, and then this negative sign gets distributed to both of these. Okay, so let's do 46. On 46, there are two things we need to distribute. We've got to distribute the negative 11 to both the k and the 7, and we've got to distribute the negative 11 to both the 6 and the 11k. So remember that we distribute, and then we combine like terms, and then we solve. Okay, so let's do our first step, which is to simplify our left side. So this is our right side, this is our left side. First thing I'm going to do is distribute that negative 11, so negative 11k, negative 77, and then I'm going to distribute this negative 11, so negative 66, and negative 11 times 11 is 121. Oh shoot, I'm running out of space. Negative 121k equal to negative 11. Okay, so now after I've distributed, now I want to combine any like terms that I have, because I have to simplify everything I can before I solve. So this negative 11 is going to combine with this negative 121, and that is going to give me negative 132k. And then I also have this negative 77 that I'm going to combine with this negative 66, which gives me negative 143, negative 143. That is equal to negative 11. Okay, and then from there, I need to now solve. So I want to isolate my variable. My variable is being multiplied by negative 132, and then 143 is being subtracted from that. So I am going to add 143 to both sides. So negative 132 times by k equals, and then 143 and a negative 11 gives me 132. And then my last step is to get rid of that multiplication of negative 132 by using division. So k is equal to negative 1. Okay, now here are the problems that I want you to do for me. You're going to do them, you're going to check them off, and then I'm going to give you a retake of your quiz. Okay? Okay, so you're going to show me all of your work on these 9 problems. Problems number 5, 7, and 12. Those include simplifying an expression. Okay. Problems number 19, 21, and 24. For those ones, you are going to simplify first. Okay, so you're going to distribute, combine like terms. Then you are going to solve. Okay, and on questions number 40, 42, and 45, there are going to be 2 distributions. So you're going to distribute both times, and then you're going to combine like terms, and then you are going to solve. Okay, so go ahead and do those 9 problems, bring them back to me. I will check them off and give you your retake.